guys. Okay, it has been a couple months since my last video, and I'm so excited to dive in with you today on not only a quick recap of NPC Universe that took place the first week in July, one of the bigger national shows of the year, but also to really talk about the power of believing in yourself and deciding that you are going to go all in on believing that you can do the things that you set out to do. And I'll just start by saying, this really can be the missing piece for a lot of people. And as a coach of primarily women over the past decade, it's something I find a lot of women are missing, and sometimes we just need a little reminder. It's not going to automatically change your life, right? Like just believing, okay, I can do what I set out to do is not going to win you a competition. It's not going to automatically give you a raise. It's not going to, get you the car or the house that you want without doing the work. But it can be a piece that's missing for a lot of people that can help you to really go that extra distance to reach your goals. And I know it's something that definitely helped me as I reached a big goal recently. Let's start out by talking about NPC Universe. This show was really, really cool because I got to travel to Teaneck, New Jersey and compete in the show with my mom, which is something I have never done before at a national level show. She had not seen me compete in years. So when I decided to do this show in particular, and she was willing to come with me, I thought, man, we've got to just do this and capitalize on this experience. If you've been following along with my journey on Instagram, I have been competing in the fit model division for almost a year now. The end of July of 2025 was my first show. It was my only regional show in the division, and NPC Universe marked my 5th national level show for Fit Model. Earlier this year, and I have a recap video on my channel, I did the Pittsburgh Natural National Show and was kind of using that as a gauge for whether or not I was going to keep going this season or not. And when it went pretty well, had a discussion with my coach, really took some time to think about it, and felt like doing Universe was a good move to build some momentum going into NPC Teen Collegiate Masters in Pittsburgh in July. So I decided to do this show, and I was excited to have my mom going, but I did have some hesitation, mainly because of two things. First, I did NPC Universe in 2022, back when I used to compete in the bikini division. If you don't know, very much about the difference between fit model and bikini, leave me a note in the comments and I'm happy to go into more detail about the difference between these two divisions and really what separates them. But it was my last national show in bikini and I placed 16th. I think I actually got true 16th place at national level or bigger level shows. After 15th place, they no longer rank the competitors. So my official placing was 16th, but I got center of third callouts. So pretty close to like a true 16th place. And after that show, I knew I needed time off. I knew I wanted to have another baby. It ended up being incredible because I went on to have my daughter and have a really special couple of years, intuitive eating, still lifting just because I loved it, but like really taking my ego out of the picture and being willing to work on some imbalances and just really hone in on health, lifting, training, all of these things for the love of it rather than for a competition or anything else. I also kind of sat at that time in a space of feeling like I may never compete again in bodybuilding. I knew I was under muscled for the bikini division. As a coach myself, I study the criteria heavily and knew what it would take and how much muscle I really would need to be able to put on in order to be competitive, and just wasn't sure that was, the direction that I wanted to go. So I had those few years off and came back to competing when Fit Model was announced. But, having gone to NPC Universe and placed in the third call out and not done super well, I knew how that felt. The other reason that I was a little hesitant in doing this show is that the head judge of this show was also the head judge at NPC Nationals in December of last year, which was the worst placing that I've had at a national level fit model show. I placed 14th out of 37. So, you know, it was recognized among the 37 competitors, but not my best showing, not my best placing, and just wasn't sure how this judge would feel about my package. Now, all of that said, you know, the goal within bodybuilding is to improve every time you step on stage. And so I also knew that we'd made a lot of improvements since last December, had learned a lot about how my body responded, was bringing a different package. And so I had to kind of sit with myself and be like, you know what? You know you want to keep running it this year. Let's go get some feedback. Let's see if we've improved in front of this judge specifically and go take this package to NPC Universe. So some things I want to say about this show as a coach, if you are someone who is thinking of doing it, it can be a really fun show to target. It is in Teaneck, New Jersey, but a really quick Uber drive to New York City. So there are a lot of good food options after the show. The other thing that's really cool about this show is that it's not only an open competition, meaning, you know, open to anyone, but there are masters categories as well. So competitors who are 35 and up, there are really good opportunities to compete against other 35-year-olds or 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, even upwards of 60-year-old athletes. I actually had an athlete turn pro at the show in 2022 who was a 60-year-old bikini competitor, so pretty special. For Fit Model this year, I believe they only had a 50 and up category. I need to double check that, but as the division continues to evolve, they will get to the point where they will add in 60 and up, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 to 10 years, we're also seeing a 70 plus category, truly. But a fun show to do because it's in the middle of summer. It usually is right around the 4th of July and super close to like good food options, good entertainment options, and just a lot of fun. So we headed over to NPC Universe. This was the first show where I was gonna put my new Angel competition bikinis on stage as well. First show I was gonna get to, you know, see how it looked under the stage light, how the cut fit me. And I loved the way that that turned out. So I decided to compete both as a master. I'm 35, so I competed in the 35 and up category. And then I also decided to do the open category, mainly because I wanted to see how I stacked up in both age groups, both as a 35-year-old and then against the open as well. My 35 plus group was really large. I think there was 25. I don't know that all of them showed up for finals, but I believe there were about 25 competitors in that group. And the open had less. I want to say 18, 19. I should have looked at these numbers before jumping on here, but in masters, there were only 3 classes, and in the open, they had 4. So the A and B classes were combined for masters, and that's why there were more competitors in that group. But we went on stage for masters and split center out of those 25 competitors. So what that really means, I think I've talked about this in other videos, but the closer you are to center stage, usually the better your placing is going to be. If you're sitting dead center, that's likely a first place. Split center is first or second place. And then it kind of goes out from there in the first call out. Split center with a great competitor and got off stage and then got to do the open again. I felt really, really good being able to be, you know, in that split center position and wanted to go into open without a lot of expectation. But I will say I was both really excited to get into the first call out of the open, and also a little bit disappointed because I got moved out to like 5th, 6th place. And the girl that I split center with in the masters category stayed in the center in the open. So what does this all mean? Why does this matter? Really at that point in time, it was pretty clear that when I was splitting center for masters, that girl was likely going to win because I got moved out in the open against other competitors. So anyway, just, you know, a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes, but still was really, really proud. Like so much came together for this show. My glam could not have been better. Shout out to Amber from LeBeau. Like she always just slays the glam, and it was probably my favorite makeup, favorite hair. I can't remember the name of the girl that did my hair, but she did so good. They really took their time to just make sure that everything came together. My suit cut was fantastic. Like the pictures, I need to show a comparison at some point, but I'll put up my pictures, and I just was in love with the entire look. And really, I was just super happy with my package and to be recognized in the top call outs by this judge against really, really good competitors after how things had gone last year. So I did end up ultimately getting second place in the Masters class, and then I took home fifth place in the Open, which I've got to just say, like, I was excited to get second. You know, obviously there's still that like sting when your name gets called for second. But I was really excited to get fifth in the Open. I'm competitive. I come to win. I want to win, but you have to take the time to appreciate when you're moving up or how you're stacking up against really, really good competitors. You know, there were people who didn't make it into the top 5 who've been placing top 3 consistently this year. And so for me, it was very affirming that we had made improvements specifically to be seen by this judge at this show and to have placed well. So got to spend a great night, you know, having fun with my mom. We went out to dinner, we took some pictures, just got to spend time together, which was really special. And then, like the people that we are, got on a flight the next day, had to get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to make it to the airport and get out of there. But yeah, just a really good experience all in all. So it was really funny though to come home, because I know like the people in my corner have been cheering me on and wanting this for me just the same way that I have been. And I think like that second place, a lot of people are like, are you okay? Like, are you hurt? How are you feeling? You got fifth. Like, how is it all going? And I'm like, I feel great. Like, I really felt super good coming out of that show. But even with all of that said, and even as a coach, there's been a lot that I haven't shared about behind the scenes, really, because, you know, I'm focused in on my coaching business. When I'm not doing that, I am with my family and focused in on that. And I think that sometimes I'll just share, you know, as a coach, it can be hard to be vulnerable about the things that you are struggling with. And it's something that I think we need to do a better job with more often than not, you know, sharing that it can be hard to take losses. You do have moments of self-doubt, even when you know, and you have the tools and things to work through that. It doesn't mean that you don't have those hard moments. And with this being my 5th national show and fit model, I mean, there are a lot of people who last year with the division being new, you know, they went pro more quickly, or maybe the path was a little bit easier, or they didn't, you know, go up in placings to go down in placings. People's journeys can all be different. But I did experience going into this and then, you know, coming home from it, just like those moments of like self-doubt and the moments where you're not sure, you know, that it's going to happen for you. It's like getting second place. Like I was riding a high, but then you come home and you're like, what if I compete again and I get second again? Like how many times can I get second place? And just to like fill you guys in on my placings, I placed 3rd at North Americans, my first national show for fit model in the Open. I placed 4th in the Open at Ben Weider at the end of the year because I was not competing as a master yet. And then I placed 14th at nationals. So kind of, you know, had a good bang, and then my placings dropped a little, which is very normal in bodybuilding. But definitely struggled with some moments of self-doubt this season, and just like, am I going to keep placing second? Am I always going to be a bridesmaid and never a bride? And I think that this is something that's not talked about a lot when it comes to bodybuilding, is the mental side of things. It's something that I work on with my clients heavily, because I think it is just as important if you want to have longevity in this sport, you know, as all of the other stuff that we do. When you play a team sport, which if you know me, you know that I didn't really do that as a kid. I had a brief stint in tennis, but outside of that was not really a team sport girl. But when you're playing a sport on a team, you are winning together and you're also losing together. And that can feel incredibly different than when you were doing this thing completely on your own to an extent. Like, yes, you are going to have teammates and friends and people cheering you on. And I never go to a show feeling alone backstage. There's so many people that I love who are involved in this sport, who, you know, are with me in it. But at the same time, when you step on stage, the score that you get, the placing you get, that is yours alone to carry and to hold on to. And you definitely can have moments of doubt. And running the national stage as many times as I did in the last year, which I think it's different in fit model than in bikini and these other divisions, and different than it has been in years past for a lot of reasons. Maybe I should make a video on that. I know there's a lot of competitors who have been in the same boat. But yeah, you are going to experience moments of self-doubt. Placing second multiple times, because I placed second 2 times this year, and then in the open, well, once in the open in my first show, once in the masters category at Universe, and then also placed first in the masters category at my first show, but got second in the overall. So I was very comfortable with these, second places, and that will do something to you. Second place is almost harder, I'm going to argue, than third, fourth, fifth, sixth, because you were so close, but not quite there. And that can be hard. And I definitely had moments of struggling with, some self-doubt and just wondering, do I need to call it on this season? Is the thing that's keeping me in second place big enough that I need to take time off? And that is going to be a really important conversation if you are someone in that same situation. It's going to be an important conversation to have with a coach. It's going to be important to get judges' feedback to see if the things that are keeping you from that win are fixable in a short amount of time, or if they are, things that are going to require a big off season. For me, my only feedback coming out of NPC Universe, it wasn't a matter of muscularity. I didn't necessarily need to go build a bunch of muscle. It wasn't my conditioning. I didn't need to get leaner. It wasn't my stage look. It all really came down to being able to showcase more shape in the front pose. And I am someone who is very straight up and down. I don't have like a natural hourglass shape to me. And so, structurally, there's not a lot we can do. We can't move my bones. But there were some things that we could do, tweak with posing, mobility, different things like that I can get into. But really just decided, you know what, you've had doubts. You had doubts at the end of last year. You've had some different doubts and things, and we're not going to do that anymore. We are going to go into Masters Nationals believing that not only it can be done, but it will be done, and that we are going to go pro this season. And I'll say that I did have that mindset, and I also had to kind of tweak it as time went on, because you have to be realistic within bodybuilding, that it's all a matter of who shows up that day and what the judges are going for. You can have the best physique on stage, and maybe it's a little too hard, or maybe it's a little too soft, or maybe, they were trying to go a different direction. And so the mindset that I really adopted was, I expect to go pro. It may not be at this show. It may not be at this moment, but that's what I expect to happen this season. And I started to really look for that in everything that I was doing, and how I was showing up, and how I was viewing myself, if I catch myself comparing. And I'll talk about a couple things that can help you with this. But I wanted to share like a cool experience that I had, was that right after Universe, I had a work retreat in Austin, Texas. Well, I actually also had a trip to the Tetons to go meet up with my family. And this July, you guys, has been the craziest July of my life. But as crazy as it was to go like back-to-back trips, I was really grateful to have this work retreat, because it was such a good distraction from being home, and either being mom or being like solely focused in on like, how can I improve? How can I improve? I kind of needed that like mental pause button, I guess, to be in a different scenery where I wasn't competing, and could kind of take my mind off of things a little bit. And one of my coaches, my fellow coaches, Chantel, she did a sound bath for us the first night we were there. Little plug, I am obsessed with sound baths. I love them. I didn't expect to like them. I thought it was kind of like woo-woo the first time that I ever did one, but I really do like it. I think it's relaxing. So if you've ever done one, and if you like it, put that in the comments. But I'd already made the decision that I was going all in on believing in myself if I was going to do another show. And her sound bath was all about like your intention and your attention, and what things you were giving attention to in your life and what your intent is. And I really took that to heart. She probably doesn't even realize that, but it was really powerful for me, and I really took that to heart and just decided like, yeah, we're done playing small. We are going to win. I expect to go pro this year, and I don't know what show it's going to happen at, but you better believe that I'm going to be bringing it to Masters Nationals. So more I could say about that retreat. It was amazing. I was a bit of a zombie. Didn't feel like 100% me, but it was so good to be there with those women and appreciated that sound bath and just all of their support going into things. I wanted to share a couple of different tips and tricks that I give to my own clients who are competitors. And these are different things that I have learned through years of just my own work, but also I have worked with a sports psychologist as a coach. I want to be able to have tips, tools, and tricks to offer to my clients. And so I've worked with a really powerful sports psychologist on kind of just some different mindset things and how you can impact your outcomes and also your performance primarily through using different mental strategies. So one of the first things that I want to bring up is the power of like when you find yourself comparing to someone else, especially as a bodybuilder, man, this is something that can be really hard to avoid because you're seeing people's pictures on social media, which by the way are always their highlights, right? But a lot of times you're also looking on NPC News to see the results of a show for a friend, or, for me, I study NPC News heavily, so I'm on there all the time. And when you see yourself looking at another competitor or, someone on NPC News or someone else's highlight reel, you find yourself, looking all of the good attributes that this person has. It is very easy when we are comparing to almost build a case for why another person is better than us. And I hope that there's someone out there watching this who does not do this, but I find this happens very commonly for my own athletes. And it's something I've definitely caught myself doing too before, where you see a picture of someone and you're like, oh, her glutes or her midsection or her shape or whatever it is, her posing, whatever it is. And you're kind of building this case for why they are better. So anytime that happens, what you need to do is also start to build the case for you. Like comparison is a normal thing. You can say till you're blue in the face, like don't compare, don't compare, don't compare. It's also human nature. So if you find yourself comparing to someone else, hopefully you don't. Hopefully you're tuning out social media and, protecting your peace. But starting to build the case for yourself. So if you recognize something great in someone else, say 1 or even better, 3 to 4 things that are great about you. So it's like, I recognize that you are, a strong athlete and you have great quads. I don't know, whatever it is. And some things that I have that are wins for me are X, Y, Z, right? So you're also building the case for yourself and training your brain that when you see another competitor who is good, you can honor that they are good and that they have worked hard and that they deserve to be there, but so do you. And bonus points if you come up with multiple reasons why you are just as good or better. This is also a strategy that I have had athletes use backstage, if you're tanning and you start to scan the room and you're looking at other people, how can you build the case for yourself? Okay, tip 2 for believing in yourself and, kind of helping yourself to remember during the times that you forget is utilizing the power of people. And so the people in your life who have either made positive comments that helped you to feel like you believed in yourself, or who have affirmed that you belong in your sport, or just who have been cheering you on and believing in you. Make a list in your phone, in your notes section of those people and the specific things that they have said. So whether it be like, hey, wow, you really seemed like the winner when you came out for your bodybuilding competition, or like, I've noticed how hard you've been working. You were showing up like a champion. If you had, a friend or a coach or someone in your circle say that to you. Or maybe it's a piece of judge's feedback. You stepped on stage at a regional stage and the judge said, your whole package just really wowed me. Take note of those times when people give you those compliments or just those moments where you really felt like a winner or felt like someone who had shown up like a very strong athlete. Make note of them in your phone. And when you are struggling to believe it yourself, go back and refer to it. Do I have a list? Dang right, I have a list in my phone. And there's just some powerful words that people have said to me that I've put on there to remind myself during the times that I am struggling. How I had already shown up like a pro. And then the last thing, I have more tips than this, you guys, too. So if you want me to share them, put it in the comments and I can make a whole video on this. But I think a very big, a very big source of feeling confident and believing in yourself comes from preparedness. That's like that is going to be the biggest thing that is really going to help you to feel confident and to tune out the moments of doubt and to tune out, that voice in your head that maybe says, am I ready or am I not? How prepared are you? And so similarly, having a list in your phone or in a notebook or somewhere where you go over all the ways that you have shown up like a champion for your goal, even if it's not bodybuilding, whatever it is, how have you shown up every day? Because if you can, those moments before your heels touch the stage, when you were standing backstage and you can kind of see the crowd and you're with the expediter and you're breathing into that moment, thinking of all of the different ways that you have shown up for yourself. It is so powerful. Like, it is a confidence like nothing else. Like, I knew at not just Masters Nationals, but at every show that I've shown up to this year, I knew that I had done everything I could do. I knew I had literally left no stone unturned, and that goes such a long way in believing in yourself. I had to get into the Masters Nationals recap, but Universe really changed a lot for me in just deciding, A, like, you have improved, you belong here, but also B, like, what is going to happen? What's the worst thing that happens if you decide to go all in on believing that you can do this thing and believing in yourself? You might surprise yourself. Thanks for coming along. Leave any questions or comments that you have in the comment section, and hope you all are having a great week.